The current sporting manager, Rúben Amorim, is reportedly going to be the next Manchester United manager. The 36-year-old, although young, has a very big and good reputation building out of Portugal. Claims from Jorge Nicola is that he will be the next Manchester United manager, and this deal has reportedly been approved by Cristiano Ronaldo and Bruno Fernandes. We're going to delve into that in a lot more detail this morning on the Done Deal Show, or this afternoon, on the Done Deal Show. Plus, we're going to take a look at Paul Pogba, some big words from Mikel Arteta, more games in the Premier League cancelled. Smash that like button, subscribe to the Football Terrace. Here we go. Football journalist Jorge Nicola has made claims on his YouTube channel that Rúben Amorim, the current manager of Sporting Lisbon, will be the next Manchester United manager moving forward. This is a big, big claim for such a young, inexperienced manager that he will be the next Manchester United boss. It's a tweet we put out fairly late last night. A number of other outlets and channels are starting to go with this. This young man was linked with Manchester United about 3 to 4 weeks ago. He was looked at as a potential player that Manchester United may turn to. We'll see if this picks up any pace outside of Portugal and into the British mainstream media, where they've been reporting from the majority of the week that Erik ten Hag is the lead candidate. But this journalist here, Jorge Nicolai, has made the claims that it will be the Sporting Lisbon boss, Rúben Amorim, not Erik ten Hag. Now, I want your thoughts and I want your feelings. I want to know what you feel in relation to this. The right man, the wrong man, happy, sad, indifferent to this news. I really do want to get your take on this. Good morning, by the way, wherever you're watching around the world. He sounds like a new variant. Look, I'm aware who the guy is. I'm aware of who the guy is. I think he started life in Portugal very, very well. He's got a very high win percentage of around 74, 75%. 80 games played, 78 games played, 79 games played, something along those lines. Only eight defeats. I can't help but think, though, with this news, the first thing in my mind is, does he have the credentials and experience to manage Beatlemania? Everything that comes with Man United, I don't know. There's something about this claim that doesn't sit too right with me. Personally, doesn't sit too right with me, but you may have a different take. Maybe there's something about this manager that I am unaware of, or our viewers are unaware of. We want to hear from you today in relation to that. Prime here says good manager, but I think experience would benefit him. It's too risky. He needs to manage another Premier League team for a few years before he comes anywhere near us. He's a great up-and-coming manager. That I agree. And I think I agree with your point there massively. I think that that step up from Sporting Lisbon to Manchester United, I just think it's too great, personally. I've done a bit of research on him this morning. Football's nice. Very good manager. And there are some Man United fans. One of the guys from Never a Foul and the Trafford Tunnel were like, yes, this means Bruno is going to get dropped. There are some that I think would like this because they think it means Bruno would go. The other part of the story from Jorge Nicolai that I'm not particularly comfortable with in terms of believing the story is true is the claim that Ronaldo and Bruno have approved his hiring. I don't know. I don't think Ralf Rangnick who is going to be heavily involved in the new appointment, is chatting to these players about it. Even Ronaldo. I don't necessarily think they are. I think this is a club decision. I think heavily influenced by Ralf. just not for me. Just not for me would be my take on this. But you may all see it very, very differently indeed. What do I think and feel? There you go. I just gave you my view. I think talented up and coming manager in the making, but I think it's too big a step too soon. I don't know about the whole Ronaldo Bruno thing, them endorsing it, them signing it off. I don't know about that. But in terms of the sources, we say the source, verified journalist, over 310,000 followers. You know, what I will say is this about the source. A few people saying, "What's the source like?" I would say this: remember when unknown sources from the continent and South America were telling us that Conte was going to Tottenham and they'd sacked Nuno from Spurs, and everybody went, well, no, Matt Law hasn't said it yet. No, Fabrizio hasn't said it yet, so therefore it can't be true. And it was actually one of the first major outlets to go with it randomly was a Turkish outlet, and people were like, well, neither manager has any or club has any connection to Turkey, so why would their press know about it? And they were just spot on. So I'm not going to discount and disrespect a journalist. I'm not going to say no, it has to be nonsense because a big star. You know, we don't know this person's connections, who he knows, who he's spoken to. Of course, he's from South America, from Brazil, Sao Paulo. So he could definitely have connections within Portugal. There's huge connection between those two countries, especially on a footballing sense. So I think to turn around and say he isn't credible, it's a matter. I just don't do it. I've just learned not to do that now. That, you know, as I say, just that bit of news as an example. I've seen the world's most credible journalists say it's impossible that a particular striker leaves a certain club, and it's happened. I've seen some of the world's credible journalists say this guy's signing a new deal. He then leaves. So things chop and change. I'm reporting on the news, but let's take it away from the journalist for a minute. Do you think Rúben Amorim is the right guy to coming to Man United now? I want to get your take on that as Man United fans and as rivals as well. Sporting got whooped by Ajax. Yes, they did. Yes, they did indeed. If he wins the Champions League like Jose did with Porto, why not have a punt, but a couple of trophies in the Nando's League? Nah. Look, I'm the same mindset of you. Even if he wins the Champions League, I still think Man United should be getting somebody in more established, somebody in with a better CV. And I know you'll say winning the Champions League gives you a great CV. Managing, it's the league we've got to focus on here more than the Champions League, I think. Ollie's available. Love that. Love that. GS here says chili sauce. Oh, listen, I hear you on that. And look, viewers are entitled to believe who they want, and everyone will have a difference of opinion on who the right and the wrong journalists are. I was talking to one of the guys this week from the Muppeteers. We were having a good chat, and we're kind of laughing about, again, they get a lot of credible news, and the people they source it from are often like scoffed at by Twitter. Oh, he ain't very good, but they're bloody spot on. It's just the way football works. Some people are good at selling it. Some people are absolutely brilliant at selling it. There we go. Let's have a little look. Never heard of this guy. You've never heard of Rúben Amorim. You've never heard of the young man. You've not heard of him at all. You must have seen that Sporting Lisbon won the league last year. Do you know why I heard of him, actually? It wasn't even because Sporting won the league. The reason that I heard of him is because people used him as see, this proved Bruno's not very good because they won the league without him. That's how I heard about him and came across his achievements at Sporting. It made me die. Absolutely made me die. It was hilarious. Absolutely hilarious when I saw it. It really is. Why do we always think we want managers that have accomplished anything? You mean have not accomplished anything? Look, there is a thing. There is a thing in this, right? There is a thing of sometimes have you not got to look for the next best thing that's coming through, and maybe this guy is it. Do you know? It'd be really interesting if in like 3 or 4 years' time he's managing Real Madrid and Wingham Champions Leagues, and we're sitting again. We all said no to him because we didn't know who he was. My personal feeling is no. However, do you know what? If Ralph Ragnick says he's the guy, I will back it. I will back his ability to run a club. So again, my preference versus what the club does, and then that my subsequent support are two very different things. Terry flip-flopping from manager to manager. No, not at all. Not at all. Like I've said with Chest, that I have my preference, but I've said all along, I trust Ralph running the club in the consultative capacity he's come in to do. And if the club were to pick him and Ralph was to endorse him, it would really tickle my pickle. I'd really be interested in as to why, because I trust Ralph. I don't think Ralph is going to give a job to an old mate of his. I don't think Ralph is going to do something that isn't going to get the very best out of the club, in his opinion. I don't personally think it will be him. It isn't my personal preference, but I can't back Ralph and then throw my toys out my pram at every single decision that he makes. That is the height of stupidity. And I won't be doing it. There's a comment here that says, is the phrase bias punditry? The phrase isn't, the secret football phrase isn't bias punditry, but thank you very much for having a guest there, my friend. Ten Hag is perfect for United with Ralph as his mentor. I would love him. He is the guy I would want. Legitimately, he is the guy that I would want right now. Ten Hag, the way he plays football, his experience, he managed Ajax, who historically are a big club, performed in the Champions League. Like I've said for weeks now, and I stand by this, and I'm still one of the only kind of content creators saying it, but I mean it. There isn't a perfect candidate. There isn't someone that's Premier League proven, that's won the major trophies, that's won a Champions League, who's managed a club as big as Manchester United, who develops youth and who plays attractive football. As far as I can tell, there isn't a single manager in the world who is attainable for Man United that's done all these things. If they're all the boxes that you want ticked, something's got to give. Ten Hag, for me, number one choice right now. It would have been Julian Nagelsmann for myself personally, but there's no way I see him being attainable with how long he's been at Bayern Munich. So I would look at Ten Hag to come in the summer. That would be my personal preference and choice. Is the secret phrase crossing the divide? It's a very good guess at the Football Terrace secret phrase, but that is not the answer. But thank you for guessing. Remember, we are live tonight after the Leeds Arsenal game. Panels are back on our match reaction shows as well. So I have a panel of 6, including myself, on that show. We will take calls on it as well. So make sure you're tuning in at full time. No one does it better than the Terrace. So make sure you're here. Terry, do you presume everything Ralph touches will turn to gold? Twisted again with one of his very loaded questions. No, that isn't the point that I've made. I haven't made that claim, so nor implied it. I'm simply stating that I trust his ability to run the club, so I'm going to remain relaxed with his decision-making. If he continues playing McTominay, I'm going to remain relaxed. If he continues picking Rashford, I'll be relaxed. If he drops Bruno, I'll be relaxed. If he picks Rúben Amorim, I'm going to remain relaxed. I'm going to wait to see the fruits of the labor. I'm not just going to panic instantly. Why? We as Man United fans have been crying and squealing like pigs and little babies for years to have an elite level man running the football club, a football mind making football decisions. We can't then have that person come in and give them no time to cook, no leeway, no patience in their process. Of course, we can have an opinion on what they think and feel, but there's a difference between what I'm having an opinion and what I'm already starting to see. Nasty, negative, thuggish agendas being created on socials, pushing against him. It won't be long until a few start to turn. Trust me, when they don't get what they want, trust me, it will come. There we go. Someone here says your sources are as reputable as Werner. Not my sources, bro. Let me just reiterate this stance right now, just for everyone in the back. This is not a story that the Football Terrace have created. This is not a story that the Football Terrace have endorsed. This is literally a trending story across social media. The United Stand have run with this. All the Man United fan channels have touched on in one way, shape, or form this story. We're just giving you, the fans of the Football Terrace, to have your say as well. So if you don't think the source is particularly credible, that's completely your choice. But do me a big, big favor and do not call it the Football Terrace's source, because it isn't. We have not claimed that this story for one singular second is ours. Let me just nip that in the bud now and stop the spread of bullshit and lies about the Terrace. There we go. Don't copy the United stand. Well, we tweeted about this story 12 hours before the United stand went live. So it's not about copying the United stand. The United stand are a YouTube channel like everybody else that report on the news. So there's no copying going on at all, my friend. So calm your brain down, my friend. There we go. It's not about representation. Do you think the United stand? This is an interesting question. Do you think the United stand and these channels represent fans? They represent some fans in the sense of Mark may share opinions or Housen might share opinions that other United fans do, but they represent themselves. They've created platforms where they share news about the club and they give people an opportunity to talk about the club. It's not about representing all Man United fans or being the voice of Man United fans. It's never been about that. The way that, do you know what's funny? The way that people kind of make that claim, they get told time and time again that isn't what these channels are for, but yet they still push that kind of narrative. It's very, very strange to me. You know, it's very, very strange to me that people do that. So they don't represent all fans. But if you go on there and you express your opinion to Mark and he reads it out, then it's representative of some fans. That's it. And these fan channels, you know, we just share the news that's out there to gauge opinion on it. That's the whole point, you know. But there we go, my friend. Thank you very much indeed. Cedric, I have no idea, my friend. Everyone's having a pop at each other now in the comments. It's not about having a pop at each other's fan channels each other like. Just drop it out, please, people. It's not what we're about here. Always love the show, Terry. My guy, lunchtime better. Sorry. Always love the shows, Terry. My guy. Lunchtime better. Sorry, lunchtime letter of Cronenberg for me. Now keep up the great work. Thank you very much, Simon. I kind of got there in the end with reading that, but thank you very, very much indeed. So, you know, Winnerpool, I can read the sarcasm in that tweet massively. There we go. Terry, how's your health? Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's getting better. I got tested again today. Still got the virus, but feeling a little bit better. So thank you very much indeed. Let's have a little. Amorim was linked to Leipzig this winter, so who knows? That's an interesting take. That's an interesting take to go and have a look at. I will take back. I didn't know that. I'll go and have a look. Kobe got people angry again. Calm down, people. Bring back Hugh Wizzy. Hugh Wizzy will definitely be back on the terrace, hopefully again next Friday. In some other news today as well, there are some early reports starting to surface that Paul Pogba could be gone as early as January. I see Paul Pogba trending. I click on the trend. I'm reading what's being said. Outside of him getting a new haircut, which looks pretty sharp, by the way, and him being back at Carrington training, there is talk that he could leave as early as January. I'm not reading too much into that, if I'm being absolutely honest with you. I just don't think it's overtly newsworthy, if I'm being blunt. I'm not saying it isn't big news, but I don't personally see myself that he's gonna go in January. He may go in January, but I don't think he will, if that makes sense. I think Man United will keep him until the end of the season. You know, I don't see, you know, there's too many players linked with moves away in January. I can't see 4 or 5 going. So Paul Pogba, I don't know. There was a report here I read that the farewell from Man United in January could start to take shape. Juve, the preferred destination of the midfielder. So there's still a lot of talk again that he could go back to Juve. Now, what I will say is that the source that is pushing this news out were the first source to confirm in Italy that Antonio Conte would be joining Tottenham. They were the first source to confirm that Cristiano Ronaldo was going to leave. So it isn't that they haven't had some credible stories in the last year or so. I don't know. I just feel like Paul Pogba's name again is being used here to drum up a bit of business. Slow news day of all the football being cancelled. I know. Let's put out that Pogba might leave in January. We know that he's going to leave Manchester United. I just don't see it being again in January myself. And even if it does, it's been like a death by 1,000 cuts in many ways. So again, I wouldn't be overly worried about it, concerned or angry or anything along those lines. Not myself anyway. I certainly wouldn't be. A few comments here and replies on Twitter. A few people saying, who's that? People know who he is. But yeah, I get he isn't the stellar name people want Man United to be linked with. But yeah, there we go. Let's wait and see what happens. Everyone basically watches Mark. Eventually, they take on his opinions and views as their own. He can't control his emotions to get. He can't control his emotions so gets flustered too quickly if challenged. Still think he's a top guy. Look, Mark's one of the best YouTubers to ever exist. Especially in the footballing space, and everyone's got a preference. Some people love what he does. Some people won't. I say to people that don't like what he does, just don't watch him. It's really quite simplistic. It really is quite simplistic. I do see one of my trolls here in the comment sections who puts a negative comment on every terrace video ever. You know who you are, my friend. I hope you are well. I'm not going to read your name out and give you any airtime, though. I can see him going if United can get a replacement. That's also a decent point there. I think if someone like Kadara could be done, if that deal could get over the line, then it wouldn't be beyond the realms of possibility that he is to leave. But we will see. We will see. Terry, don't you think Harlan would go Man United? He could go. Look, he could go Man United. I think we're a little bit further down the pecking order. We definitely have to be in the Champions League for that to happen. There's no doubt about it. We have to be. Just simply have to be in the Champions League for that to happen in any way, in any shape, or in any form. But there we go. Will Pogba be happy to take a pay cut at Juve? Well, he's running out of choice soon because in the summer he has no contract left. So he's at a point where he has to take whatever they're offering him. If he leaves for free, he will get his money. You've got to think, teams like Juve 2 summers ago, three summers ago, were looking at paying 60 or 70 odd million pounds to get Pogba. There is no such thing really as a free transfer. You just end up paying more in signing on fees and wages for clubs. You sometimes save a little bit of money, but it isn't. They won't save the full 60 odd million quid that they're not paying in transfer fee. 40 to 50 million pounds of that will be absorbed elsewhere, but it will still cost the club the same. Therefore, again, proving that net spend isn't real. It doesn't exist. Terry, are agents killing football? No, they're not killing football. Pav, you're making me laugh, bro. You're making me laugh. Big up yourself, Prime, as well. There we go. Of course, the other news today as well that I know we haven't touched on yet is another Premier League game called off. Villa's game has now been postponed, leaving us with very few fixtures for the remainder of this weekend. I think just the Leeds-Arsenal game remains today. Tomorrow, I think there's a few more games on with Chelsea, City, Spurs, Liverpool. That going ahead tomorrow is massive, really. So really encouraged by that still being we don't know. I didn't even I was going to do like a preview and build up to that game, but I decided not to just because I thought it might get called off before I had the chance to release it. So yeah. Is the league in danger of being cancelled? Cancelled is probably too big. I think like a circuit breaker could happen. But after today, there's no games for a week. Let's see how the clubs kind of recover over that time period. The problem that you've got, it's the bottleneck that it would create. And the bottleneck, is the Carabao Cup this week as well. I swear it's this week. Yeah, that's Arsenal's game. Yeah, all the games for that are this week as well. So we've got a big midweek of Carabao Cup games as well that Right now, you can't see them going ahead, can you? You've got Spurs, West Ham, Liverpool, Leicester, Brentford, Chelsea, and Arsenal, Sunderland. I mean, it's a very, very busy week in the build up to Christmas. So, those games are then at risk. When do they get played? This is, I mean, Chelsea, especially with the World Club Championship, it's gonna make it very, very difficult indeed. So, hopefully, fingers crossed, as we go into next week, a lot of these cases start to clear up. And kind of sort themselves out in many ways. That's what we've got to hope for, really. George here says he's got a ticket for Anfield midweek. Well, fingers crossed, my friend, that goes ahead or for you, and fans are still allowed in the grounds. I think that's what might end up happening as well. It's just rife everywhere at the minute with people testing positive. More so than, but I mean, more so than when the first lockdown happened. Just thankfully, touching wood, the death rate is, it's one of those things. I'm not happy that people are getting it, but I haven't looked at numbers for a while, right? Um, I was looking at this and I saw this, and it was like, oh, it's a little worrying, but at the same time, it was there was one real encouraging aspect with it as well. And because for me, as much as I look at the case numbers are very, very high, and this is why I think there could end up being a break on football. I want to show you this for a second. Just bear with me a second, my people. Just bear with me a second while I put this in, do this, update that. There we go. Right. So, as you can see here, this is in the UK. This was the first week. This was the first lockdown. Second lockdown. You've got to remember, a lot more tests were happening. This is where we are now. The amount of cases now dwarfs that of a year ago. Look at it. Like, it kills it. But the positive news is, for me, is that in terms of people passing, that has dropped massively. So, it's terrible that lots of people are getting these new cases. They're going to try and do something to try and stem the flow, it appears. But thankfully, this doesn't seem to have at the moment. And I'm praying to God it doesn't change the same mortality rates as we were seeing before. So fingers crossed that remains the same. But yeah, I can imagine at the very least some of these games being put behind closed doors and other bits and pieces like that. So yeah, fingers crossed, absolutely fingers crossed that there isn't a long break to the football for a month, for a number of reasons, because that also means that things aren't as bad or things are getting better, hopefully, as well. Yes, Aston Villa and Burnley is called off. Yes, Kev, we've seen that news already, my friend, and yeah, an absolute shame. And I don't think any game is safe until you see the ball, until you see the ball being kicked off. That's it now. That's when I think that these games are on, is when they're on. Until that point, there's no way of really knowing. At the moment, there really, really isn't. It's anybody's guess as to whether or not they go ahead. Dinesh here says, I think the FA should decide a day before to cancel a game. Feel sorry for the fans who travel up, then lose, then last minute find out the game is cancelled. Yeah, I hear you on that. I think that's because they did test again. This is the process. They did test again this morning, and they did the test this morning. And as they did those tests, people then failed the tests. So there's nothing they can do other than call the game off. So that's the problem with it. I think what they've got to do is put a process in place, and the process has got to be, well, if they're not fit, then your reserves play or your youth team play. I think that's what they're going to end up bringing in, because when are they going to get the time to fill these games up? For some of these players that are going to be at the World Cup next year, in 2022, they're going to get a month's rest. That's it. Something's got to be done. It's not even about just the COVID issue now. It's about the long-term physical protection of these football players. They are human beings as well, and they need to be treated like one. It's as simple as that. Some people are saying cancel the Wolves game. Who's got Wolves? Chelsea. Is that off? Or is it on? Or do Chelsea fans just want it off? Or do Chelsea fans just want it off? We'll see. Echo Chambers Terrace ban if you don't like an opinion. Now, we don't ban people for opinions. We ban people for spreading lies. So freedom of speech exists here, but your freedom of speech there is no freedom of speech that gives you the ability to lie. Lying isn't part of free speech, therefore doesn't constitute as part of the Echo Chambers mandate. Nice try, though, my bro. Nice try. I'm ill with COVID and you're not sharp enough to get me. So slow your brain down, my bro. I know you're laughing as well. Top man. Top man. But there we go. Listen, everyone that's tuned in this morning, it's afternoon, sorry, quick stream really with a bit of news. We are live after the Arsenal game a little bit later on as well. So please make sure you are tuning in. Until then, take care of yourselves. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll